Hi everyone, welcome to Artistic Digitizer V2.0 Skill Builders. I'm Ann Hine, Embroidery Software Specialist for Janome, and today I want to talk about setting your preferences. And I think it's important that when you first start working with your software that you get some things set up ahead of time to make your designing and your creativity a lot easier. And these are just things that kind of float in the background. Once you set them up, you don't have to go back to them. You can always change them, but you don't have to. So what I want to do first is I'm going to open the software and show you what I mean. So let's go here. And what I want to do is right here on your welcome page, you have your default hoop here, and then you're going to have your default background color and your embroidery category. So let's start with the hoop. We're going to click in there, and you can pick the company. So we're not just Janome here. We can use a lot of different brands with our software. And then we have all the Janome machines here, so you can pick your Janome. You can use your scroll wheel to scroll up and down, or you can use the little slider on the side here, but that's how you want to go between these. And the CM17 is way at the top. If you have an older version like a 1.7 or some other time, and you don't see your CM17, you might not be updated. So you would need to update your software to 1.7. So anything earlier than 1.7, you would probably need to update, which you can update to 1.7 for free. So there's my machine, and then these are the hoops that come with my machine, and I like to have the largest hoop as my default. So I'm just going to select that, and there it is. And what that means is when I open a new page, there's my hoop. All right. It doesn't necessarily mean when I open a design like this Jeff design, I'm not sure, that they usually come in, and that does have that large hoop. They usually come in the hoop they were designed in. So you may have to come in, once you open it, you can change your hoop right up here where your machine is. Do the drop down and say change, and you can pick a different hoop from here, just like that, and then turn off your hoop over here. Now you could select your hoop icon here and then come over here. You want to select the hoop though, not the plus. The plus means you're adding a hoop from multi-hooping. Here you're going to open the window, double click, open the window to change your hoop that way. Double click, pick a hoop, double click, pick a hoop. That's how that works. And to turn that off, just come right up here and click select. Anytime there's a tool on over here, it won't let you use certain tools. So you have to make sure you click select so you've turned off any tools that have been turned on. And I'm just going to turn that off there. So we've talked about that. Now this box here, this is where you're going to set that background color that sits behind your hoop. All right, and I like to have mine set as white and sometimes as black, depending. And then I like to use the embroidery category called normal. So I'm going to open this up, and here's my normal. All of these fabrics use the normal settings for embroidery. And you'll find that in the manual what that means. The density is preset. Every single one of these fabrics will use the same density. What it's doing if you pick a fabric is it's putting this graphic behind your work. I prefer to just have white behind my work or black, so I just pick none normal, and up here if I need to change my color I can change it here, but I would change it on the workspace, not on my welcome page. This is where I'm setting my default, and we'll come back in and take a look at this. These are the different embroidery categories that you have, from smooth all the way up to heavy. Ultra light is going to be if you're working in any of these types of fabrics. Okay, pretty much you're going to use mostly normal, light, or smooth. Most people use that, and I'll show you the difference when we get into and open the software. All right, so I've chosen, so these will be my defaults. Anytime I come in here and I click here, it opens my hoop. You can see I have a white background, and my fabric, my embroidery category is normal. Now you'll notice right here I don't have my grid turned on. And you can turn your grid on by going to View, Grid, and you can turn it on and off right here. Okay, and it gives you a shortcut key. So for my Mac, it's Control Command G. I have to close that window. Control Command G. There we go. Shift Command G. And on your PC, it's Shift Control G over there as well. So turning it on and off. There we go. One is with Control and one is with Command, depending on which one you're on. And your grid might look different than mine. I'm not sure where I have mine set. This might be the default setting. Back up under here where the grid is, it's showing now. And then I could edit my size of my grid. So if I wanted to do something custom, I could change it right in here and set it as a custom setting on there as well. All right, let me just go back here. So I set it at like 2-inch grid. I might not want that. So I'm going to go back in here and go back to my view, grid, edit, and I'm just going to click the default and just stay in the default. There we go. Now, one of the things I want to show you about this is you can change the colors of your grid and some other things within the software. And that's all about setting your preferences. So we're going to go there now. And to do that, you're going to go back under View, and right here where it says Custom UI Colors, you're going to click that. And so what that does is you have a lot of things that you can change. The first ones here that you look at, this one is your selection area, your selection outline, selection box, and focus selection. These are the colors that show up when you click and drag. And if you have one or more things in there, one of them is going to have a pink outline, one will have a blue outline, and my selection box will have a blue outline. My selection outline around my pieces will have a blue outline, and then the selection area will be blue. What that means is, let's go get something. I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to, so I created a shape, and you can see it has a pink outline. So that means my focus outline is pink around that one. If I come in here, let's make a different shape down here. There we go. Now it's focused on this one. If I want to select both of these, I can left click, hold and drag. There's that blue box that's at the top, selection area. And then selection outline is the blue here. That's selection box. This is selection outline. And this is my focus. It was the first one I created, so it has the focus. And you can change those those four things in your software just by clicking in here and changing it on the color wheel. Okay, let me delete my selections there. Now your digitized outline right here is if you're using the outline shape tool and you're left clicking or even right clicking, depending on how you have it set up. Mine's all left click for curves, shift, and left click for lines. You can see the lines are pink, and when I get to the end and I left click, right click, and shape, and I click off of it, it's going to be green, which is my preference of my set outline colors. Okay, and we'll cover that in a moment as well. So I'm going to delete that. Coming down here, your guidelines. These are your guidelines here, and when you engage them and turn them on, they are pink. They're blue at first, but then they stay pink. And then if you want to turn them off, you just, let me come back. Let me close this so that they will come down here. And then you just click delete, and there they go. So I'm done with those. So those are your guidelines. You can change the colors of your guidelines. Then down here, this is your hoop limits. Now your hoop limits, that is that blue. Let me turn off my my grid. Those are the blue lines right here. I have mine set as blue, but of course you can come in here and you could set them any color you want. If I wanted them to be yellow, I could have them yellow, and you barely see them as yellow, but I'm going to undo that because I want to keep them blue, and click again so they, oops, let's redo that one. There we go. So these will be blue. I'm going to put them back to the blue. There we go, or purpley color. And then this is the error fill. So that's when I have something that's outside my hoop area. So if I select this box and say I move it just outside, this is the error fill right here. So it shows the error. And then the error outline is there as well. Down here, so this is where I really think people want to look, is at the grid here, your major, your medium, and your minor. So I'm going to move this to the side. I'm going to put my grid back on. And so my major is the red. You can see the red. My medium is the blue, and my minor is the gray. So when I move in here, here you go. That's my major, that's my medium, and that's my minor. And I am set in, I think I'm set at eighth inch here. So these little ones down here are an 1/8 inch apart. So you have those to work with. Now you just click in here, as I said, and you can change move the dot around to change here, and the intensity over here. Sometimes what people like is the major outline. Sometimes it's too bright, and you can change the intensity, just by sliding this down a little bit. And you can see that red when I zoom back out. It's not as in your face bright, which is nice. I like that. I like that it's not, so jarring. And of course, I can always turn it on and off this way as I want. I'm going to turn it off for just a moment so I can show you. Down here, this is your work area. So you do have your whole hoop to work in, but say you wanted to create something in a circle. So you could come in here and select your circle. And then let's get it to, I'm going to select it and put it in here. And it's a little bit too big for this area, so let me make it a little bit bigger. And I want to center it in my hoop, so I'm going to go back up to my machine, and I can center the hoop. And I can also come in here and change my hoop to this one. There we go. Turn this off. Now, if this is where I want to make my work area, if I just it's going to be pink when I make my work area. If I right click on this, very at the bottom, you'll see use shape as work area. So now when I create something, and maybe I want to, I don't know, I'm going to maybe make a star here. If I can keep my thing going, there we go. If I come up here, I'm going to change this to 5. So if I create a star like this, and I want to put my star, maybe right up here on there, and then I copy paste it. Maybe I want one down on this part of my star, and then maybe I want some different things in here. Now I have this as my boundary. I can't move that. I can't move my work area, but it'll be there until I turn it off. And then at the very end, I could go ahead and turn that off. So if I select my pieces, let's see. I could do different things with these as well. So you have a work space to work in. And then a new thing for us is this crosshair. So we do have the center crosshair here, but we also can engage under view our crosshair right here. And then we can see how it's connected to my my cursor. So if I had a row of things and I wanted to make sure they all lined up, I could use my crosshair like this to help line things up and make sure it's sitting right where I want it. Okay, and you could change the color of that. I have mine black, but you could make it any color that you like, which will work for you. And when you're done with the crosshair, you can come up to view and just uncheck it, and it goes away. All right, so those are your custom UI colors. I think it's really important because a lot of times I see people working and maybe you want that graphic of the fabric behind your work, maybe you don't. So that's how you change it. I like a nice clear if I wanted to use a black background or change anything at this point, I could come in here, change this to black. So it'll be a black background now. And then if I want to change my embroidery category to ultralight, right now I'm at 6,100 stitches. If I go to ultralight and okay, it made this, see my stars are lower density, and they're 2,500 total stitches in here. So there are a lot less stitches going on. If I select one of these, this is only 1,300 stitches. But if I went back, I'm going to do undo. Now this one is, we're back to our full 3,100 stitches or 6,200. So you can really use the embroidery categories to your advantage on things like this that you're creating. It doesn't change. Let me close this. If I opened up this, and this is already an embroidery file I can see by over here. And if I changed my fabric here, if I went in and went to my fabric and I went to ultra light and okay, it doesn't change this design. I mean, I could come in here and I could convert this to curves and it will change the density when I convert it. So now it's a lighter stitched design. And in fact, I kind of liked when, let me put this back. Let me undo this again here. And one more. All right, so when I took the center one and I converted it, it became, let's see if I can go back here to my fabric and see where we're at. Go back to ultralight and okay. Now since I converted this, it's got those light stitches there that you can see through. This one here I didn't convert yet, so you can't see through it. It's kind of cool that you can change. I would have to convert to stitches though, anything in here that I wanted to change the density with the fabric choice. All right, so that's something to play around with and just to see how it works. I do have a sample. I did stitch out a sample of the different densities of the different settings for the embroidery category so I could see what those look like. And you have to put one on a different page to make it work out okay. All right, so that is working with, having our fabric here, our embroidery category, our background, and changing the colors of our grid and our selection things and all of that part of it. Now, the other thing that's important is changing your measurement increment. Now, some people like to work in millimeters, and that's fine, or meters, and some people like to work in inches or imperial. Now, I work in inches, imperial, but I know if I needed to put something in a metric number, I could do that as well. So if I make a circle here and I select it, it's going to give me inch measurements up here. But if I needed this to be, whoops, let's undo that. I don't need it to be that big. If I needed this to be something in millimeters, so maybe I need it to be 2.0 millimeter, I could put 2.0 mm, and it will change it for me. And that because I did it in proportional, and it'll make it that size for me, and but convert it to inches. So I don't have to do any converting. That's very tiny, but that's how that works. So if I'm teaching a lesson and I sometimes with stitch length and stitch width, I like to use millimeter. I just have to input the millimeter and do 2.0 mm, and it'll change my stitch length or my stitch width that way. That way I don't have to go and try to figure out how to convert it and so forth. And same for those who like to work in metric. When I give an inch number, if I say I need my circle to be 2 inches, you would put up in your toolbox up here 2.0 IN, and it would give you a 2-inch circle. Okay? So that's a nice way to go back and forth. I really like that. But to find your measurement, if you're on a PC, you would go under Tools and Options, which I don't have under my Mac. So for Mac, I'm going to go under Artistic and Preferences. It opens the same window for everyone. And on the General window, right down here, is where you change it. Now yours probably will say, when it's standard to open it up and have metric increments, and it will say 2 imperial. So if you want to go to inches, you would click there and it would take you to inches, change your program. And when you click OK, you'll have to close your program and reopen it and you'll be in inches. If I wanted to go back to full metric, I could click 2 metric and it's going to take me 2 metric. All right. Now, since we're under here, I'm going to talk about our palette order. When you click here, now mine's not in alphabetical order right now because I've moved mine around. You can choose your default brand. So maybe if I wanted Marathon as my brand, and then you can click on all the ones that you want visible so that you don't have to show the whole list. You can also, if you notice, mine are not in order up here. I have my well, I don't have Aurifil cotton showing, but I have Janome, Marathon Polyester, Hilo Iris, and Isocord. These are my top ones at the up there. If I wanted to bring up my Glide, I could bring up the Glide, and maybe I want to put it above Iris. Maybe I want to move Iris back down here. So I can reorder them to the ones that I'm going to click on the most. And once I have them where I want, I'm going to click OK. And then the next time I open my program, it will apply those changes. All right, so I'm not going to close and reopen, but I'm going to show you how it works. So right now, this design right here that I have open, these are all, when you hover, they're coming in as Janome colors. All right, if I wanted to change the whole thing to a different brand, I select all of it. I go to my color manager right here. I'm going to left click on it, and down here are the palettes. I'm going to click on the palettes, and maybe I want to make it Glide. So I'm going to click on Glide, and you can see the order I had before, my RGB, Janome, Marathon, Filtech, whatever. And so I'm going to click on Filtech. Let's click on Glide, and then I'm going to go to Select. And then when I hover down here, I will see the Filtech numbers. Now let's say that this one here, I'm going to select this color here, and I would rather that, I know I have a Janome color that I love for that green. I want that one to show that color. I'm going to come here to the bucket and left click on the bucket. I'm going to come here to the palette and I'm going to change it. I may have to use my scroll wheel to Janome, and then I could go to my swatches and I can pick my favorite green here. Maybe it's this green dust, and then I'm going to click off of it. And now this part of the design will have that green dust, and there it is. And it'll say Janome, and these other ones will say Glide. And in my Janome machine, I've chosen under my set mode for embroidery, retain original color. So when it shows up in my machine, it's going to show Glide colors, and then it's going to give the Janome color here. So I can tailor the colors in my design to the colors that I have in my thread drawers. I have a lot of thread, so I do have a couple favorite colors, and sometimes I do change them out this way. And then I could save it this way so that when I come back to it, I don't have to remember, oh, what was that color I like this at? Now I could save it this way as well. So that's how you use your colors down here and then your color manager over here. So if you wanted to change, everything to Isocord, I'm going to go like that. And then here we have the Isocord. Even the one I changed to Janome is now Isocord. So that's how you would work with changing it all as one, which is very handy because you may bring in a design from outside that has Isocord colors, but you like to use your Janome brand, or maybe you have Marathon, so you can auto convert them all at once. Makes it very, very easy on there. And then you can tailor the colors from that point. Now I'm going to close this really quick, and I'm just going to check. Here we go. My little hippo keeps popping up there. What I want to show you is when I make a shape here, my shape has a green outline. I'm going to click off of it so you can see. It has a green outline as per the used colors and a red fill. Now I preset that, and what I did is, let's put 2 shapes on here. Let's click and make another shape. There we go. And click off of that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on the color. So let me go back to that. You don't want anything selected. So you're going to left click on the color box, and that brings up my default outline property options. So all my graphic objects like circles are going to have this green color, and I can do my text objects the same way. And I could do it just for this design or just for this where I'm working, but I want it for every new design. So I'm going to click there and click OK. And then for the inside part, if I wanted to change that, I would left click here. And my graphic objects, I want them to have a red fill, and I want them to have my text objects and for every new design. But if, say, you didn't, whatever yours is set for, what you would do to fix it first is to pick your colors out first. So I would come here and I could go to the pencil, and I could say, well, I want all my outlines to be purple. And so I'm going to change that one to purple. And then on this one here, I'm just going to click the purple. And maybe I want the insides to be yellow. So I'm going to pick yellow as my inside, and I'll select that one and click on this yellow square. So now when I come in here and I left click, nothing's selected, and I left click, I can change it to graphic objects and text objects for every new design, and OK. And then I'm actually I'll keep the yellow for now. And then I'm going to come in here and do my graphics and my texts. It's going to be a yellow fill for every design, and OK. I'm going to close this window. Don't save that. I'm going to open a new window. That's not what I wanted. Let me just close this window. What I wanted to do is go to create new. When I go to my shapes, there I go. I have that bluish purple and a yellow. So that's what that means. And if I went to my text and I started to type something, let me do select, you can see that I have a fill and an outline. That's how you can change your defaults for that. You don't have to have a fill for your lettering, or you don't have to have an outline. If I prefer here, if I went here and said only for graphic objects for every new design, and OK. And let's go down here. Let's see what happens when I'm on this page and I type. Did it leave me an outline? So now this one, oh, it does still have the outline. I have to go back in and maybe change it on a separate page. But you can do your lettering without an outline if you like it that way, instead of having to delete it every time. It just depends. But that's how you set those default colors. Typically it comes in and those colors are white maybe and black right now, so you can make them your own colors that way. All right, so let's see. I think I showed you quite a bit today. I want to show you one thing at the end. I made this a while ago, and this is using both the sketch and paint stitch in one item. And I'm going to quickly show you how to do this. First, I want to center it to the hoop so we can keep it there. And I'm just going right up here, and I'm going to do change my hoop right here. And I'm going to choose this one here. If I could choose my hoop icon over here, and if I wanted to change my hoop, I would click on the hoop itself, not the plus. The plus would add a second hoop for multi-hooping. Double click here, and then I could change the hoop easily like that. And turn off my hoop icon by clicking select. So let me show you how I created this piece. I'm going to go back and get this JPEG. This is my son and his wife and their puppy. I'm going to crop this down first because I don't need all that top part, and I don't need some of this. So I'm going to make it smaller. I'm going to make it a paint stitch first, and I'm going to click on there and go OK. It's going to open as a paint stitch, and this one is kind of small. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to select it. I'm just going to make it a little bit bigger like that, and I'm going to move it over here, and I'm going to copy and paste it and move one over here. All right. Now I could go in and into my all my parameters here for paint stitch and make changes in here of the density. Maybe I want it more dense or less dense, depending on which way I'm going. I could change the number of colors and so forth. But I'm going to leave all that the same. This one here, let's see. I think I changed that to 0.21. Let's see what this one is. This one is okay, there we go. So what I want to do is I want to isolate Posy so I can have both a sketch and a paint stitch. So to do that, I'm going to click on my outline shape tool. Now I'm using the default, which is the context, which means when I left click and come around Posy, I will get, these are curved nodes. If I shift and left click, I get my outline. My line nodes are sharp ones. So I'm going to just use all of these. I know Posy has an ear over there, but I'm not going to collect that one up. Come around Posy's little nose. I might need to use a sharp one there, corner one, come up here. I'm going to go around the thumb and come over here and click that. So then I'm going to select that and my piece here, and I'm going to right click, and right down here I'm going to add as clipping region. So there it isolated Posy's head. So now I have Posy. I can come over here and select this one and easily go into my properties, paint stitch, sketch. When I get to sketch, I want to change my colors to 4. So it's going to be 4 shades of gray, like that. I can change the density here if I want. I can clean up some of this as well, but I want to show you. I'm just going to grab Posy and put Posy right on top of here. Oh, wait a minute. Got to do it this way. Posy has to come after, so it's in front of. And you can see it made a hole, so it's not stitching on top of it. And I can move Posy in better so Posy really fits in there. I can come in here and crop away all these things that I don't like. I'll show you that when you look at this one here. You can see when I click on them, you can see how I redid the shape out here by editing the nodes to clear all that out. So in here you would select that, edit nodes, and then you could put a node on there and clip that away. But I just want to show you how you can combine two things, paint stitch and sketch, to make a piece of artwork. All right, so let me go back. I'm going to put the camera back on. Here we go. All right, everyone. So thank you for joining me. I know I gave you a lot of things to think about, especially that last part, but it'll give you something to play with. You know, don't be afraid to play with the paint stitch. If you want to isolate a part, just like I did with Posy, you use your Digitize Outline Shape tool, or you can put a shape on there as well. And you can turn that into your clipping region. So you want to copy both your paint stitch and your shape. You want to right click and look for clipping region at the bottom. And then you can clip away, and then you can have maybe a letter if you want it, or a heart shape or whatever. If you're going to work with 2 items and make one a sketch and one a paint stitch, make sure you open both. You can open them on separate pages. Make sure you don't have too many things open. Paint stitch and sketch, they use a lot of your computer to do that. So you want to make sure you don't have too many of those open. So thank you so much for joining me today. If you have comments or questions, you can always post them below. And you can find me on our Janome Artistic Digitizer Facebook page. Until we meet again, I look forward to seeing you back on the page here. Bye for now, everyone.